I think we need to talk about how overscheduled we are right now. So much so that when a natural disaster keeps us from going to work or our kids from going to school and cancels events and interrupts your power service, that a lot of people aren't feeling stressed. They're actually feeling relief. Let's talk about it. Welcome to Outer Monologue. Okay, I know that sounds a little self-helpy, but man, I've talked to so many people this week. I guess a little context. I live in Texas. I wasn't in Texas for the snowpocalypse. We were in Tennessee. My husband had a job at a university out there where he was coaching. And we got tons of snow, but their infrastructure is different there. And so it wasn't like in Texas where people didn't have power or water for weeks. That didn't happen for us. We lost power for a little bit and it all came back. So it's funny as everyone was kind of prepping for these last couple of weeks in Texas, because of this big storm that was coming through. It was interesting to hear so many of my friends from Texas talk about that they were kind of excited. They liked, even though they have water, even though they didn't have power, they liked how their world kind of stopped. They did have fireplaces and they got to stay home and they read books and did puzzles and their kids stayed home and they didn't have to go anywhere and nobody could make them do anything. Everyone was kind of in the same boat. And everyone was very understanding and sort of respectful of everyone else's circumstances. And it really shouldn't take a natural disaster for us to take care of ourselves in that way. That's not great. That does not speak good things about what the current setup is in society or even like in our community or what community expectations are or what our own expectations are for ourselves. If you are looking forward to losing power, losing mobility, or losing the ability to leave your house, you might be a little stressed. You might be a little overscheduled. Ask me how I know. But really, it was interesting having the kiddos home, and we didn't lose power, thankfully, but we did get stuck. We were there. I'm a girl driver, for sure. So nobody should let me drive around when it's icy and snowy. I am from Texas, like South Texas, so that's not my jam. But the kids were so pumped. And of course, we played outside and we battened down the hatches for our animals because we have chickens and ducks and rabbits. And we got them all set up and that was great. And they just did fine. And the ducks had a blast, actually. Ducks are insane. I love them so much. But if you've ever had ducks, especially runner ducks, they are a crazy bunch. Anyway, it worked out fine. The biggest problem was that I accidentally ordered too much firewood because I didn't know how much. I didn't know exactly how we measure firewood. Like, I was just thinking like a stack, but that is not the correct measurement for firewood. But I'm not familiar with the lingo. So when they brought around a forklift, I was like, oh, this is going to be too much firewood. But anyway, we learned something new. I just want to reiterate, if we're craving a natural disaster and the stillness that isolation, like forced isolation brings, then we're probably not doing a great job in our personal lives or maybe even our work lives of setting boundaries and giving ourselves some space. I know moms are usually super guilty of this because we're the schedulers. So we have done this. We did this to ourselves. And part of that is boundaries and feeling like we have permission to say no. And a lot of it is FOMO. You don't want your kids missing out on things that you think they need or, that they think they need. And you can kind of keep up with the Joneses a little bit too much on this. I think where you're just looking at other people and seeing what they're doing and you're like, oh man, we're behind if we're not doing this as well. So I just wanted to say a lot of that self-talk is in your own head. And the same thing I tell my little 7-year-old when he's kind of fishtailing out of control is you're the boss of you and you can just do things. And there's consequences to those things, but you can still just do them. You have free will. You can make choices. You don't need anyone's permission to set up boundaries or to say no. But it does sometimes help to have someone say, hey, that seems like a lot. So maybe you can just feel a little bit better about being like, you're right, that is a lot. We're not going to do this. And obviously show up for the people that you need to show up for, but also don't kill yourself trying to be everything to everyone. And we've talked about this a little bit. And again, some of this talking just helps me. That's why this is called Outer Monologue. But for those of us that have like perfection tendencies and who sort of identify as helpers or as the person that shows up, like, you don't have to wear that hat all the time. You can change clothes. You can do something different. And that's not something I just like fell into. I'm not wise by any means. See the firewood incident above. But it was kind of a lesson for me that I started to pick up on in college of just finding people who you can bounce things off of that you really do trust. And my best friend is wonderful, and Brittany's just such a good human. But one of the things that I absolutely adore about her is she was really the first person that I would say stuff to and use as a litmus. She would be like, yeah, that's not right. Or no, that seems like a lot. And I was never good at doing that for myself. And I'm better at it now, but it was 100% because somebody who loved me and cared about me was wise enough to see that I was kind of like polling the audience. Like, I'm pretty stressed. Is this normal? And usually it wasn't. So it's really nice to find those people that you can bounce things off of. Maybe they're friends, maybe they're your parents, maybe it's you just kind of reflecting on it. Doesn't this seem like a lot? A lot of times I'll put things in perspective of if a friend came to me and said, this is what was going on, what would be that advice? And then maybe give that advice to myself. So whatever helps you to kind of figure out a way to let go of some of the guilt and maybe let go of some of these obligations. And I know I said earlier, the advice that I give to my kiddo and to myself is like, you can just do things. And I'm believing in that hardcore. I've leaned back into it, but you can just do things. You can try new things. You can do things that make sense for your family. You can just do things. But on the flip side, you can also just not do things. And I think that's pretty powerful too. So with my kids starting school, or, my daughter right now is doing sports, everyone wants her to do everything all the time. And that overscheduling is starting to creep in a little bit. And I can tell you, I'm kind of ready to put my foot down. I want her to still be a kid. She still gets to be a kid. We still get family time together. And what we're choosing to do in 6th grade should not really encroach on those things. And if it does, then maybe it's not a priority for us. Because I do think if we're having to hide from our own lives because we've built something that big and heavy and scary, we probably need to take a step back and look around. What can we get rid of? What can we take some pressure off? How can we loosen this up? Who can we ask for help? And if we can't ask for help, if we don't have anyone right now, then what can we do to take things off our plates and be really okay with that? And a part of that for me is God. What is your sort of appeal to a higher power need to be so that you can trust that you can give yourself a break and still know and have faith and trust that it's going to get taken care of? Or maybe if it doesn't get taken care of, maybe it wasn't for you. Maybe it wasn't for your kids. Maybe it wasn't for your husband. Maybe that's just not right for your family right now. Because what I feel like is happening on a macro level, and then all the way down, world, society, community, all the way down to family, I just feel it pulling apart. And in every gap that we leave in those places, it's being filled with technology and time wasters and distractions and bread and circuses. And I don't think that's okay. We should want it to snow because we want to make a snowman. Not because we want to hide from our lives. Right? Stay frosty, my friends. Thanks for listening.